Hi guys, I'm Ben from Simplified Fitness Business, and look, we've all had a job or worked with someone before who was just an absolute toxic person to work with and it made your life hell. So what do you do when your next hire turns out to be just that person, an absolute cancer on your business? All right, so what do you do when the next hire you hire turns out to be an absolute toxic person or a cancer on your business? Look, there's nothing more frustrating than needing to hire someone and then it turns out that the next person you hire, the person you went through all of that hassle to hire, is just an absolute horrible person for the job. So let's look at some ways when we can make sure it doesn't happen to you, and some tricks that we use to make sure every person we hire is absolutely the right person to hire. So right off the bat, I can encounter endless stories of people we've hired, people we've worked with. We've all worked in that industry or that job where there was just that one person. Hopefully it wasn't you, but there was that one person that just made your life hell. And whenever you saw them come, you're like, oh, again, that person. Here comes Mary again, bloody hell. You knew they were going to whinge, you knew they were going to complain, and you knew they damn sure weren't going to do their job. So what happens when you've got that person working for you? Well, there's no short way about it. Like, if you're a small business, having that person is absolutely toxic and it's a cancer. A few years ago, we had an ex-client that we hired. Now, during his time in our program, he was a bit of a handful, but he was enthusiastic and trained hard, didn't listen to much that we said. And later on, a few years later, actually applied for a job. He left our service and been away for ages and come back and actually applied for a job with us. And we needed someone at that point. Now, on paper, ticked all the boxes. Was the right type of trainer, had the right sort of skill sets, the right sort of background, had the right sort of knowledge and the right sort of interests. And rather than listening to my gut and following what I thought would be a problem, we went down the path of logic and we said, well, on paper, they tick all the boxes. We interviewed them, asked them the questions. They interviewed really well. And we thought, okay, well, they've interviewed well. We asked all the typical interview questions. Are you going to be coachable? Do you feel you could do the job? You know, what experience have you had in the past in previous situations where you've had this problem? What have you done? Those typical interview questions. And passed with flying colors. And we sort of looked at it and went, well, you know, there's that little bit of what if, but we need someone right now. Got to hire them. If we don't hire someone, we're going to be in trouble. And this is the best interview candidate we've got so far. So let's just pull the trigger. And we did. 6 months down the track, not listening to a word I said, wouldn't follow any procedures, wouldn't follow any instructions from me, myself, or my team. Even clients were coming to me saying, look, we know he's not doing the thing that you want him to do. He was actually being told by our clients that this is not the way it's supposed to be done here. Our clients were telling him it's the wrong way to do it. But the answer was always the same. That's just not how I do it. This is my way of doing things. This is my class and we do things my way here. And even saying it, it sounds horrendous. And you're probably hearing that going, holy crap. Now, hopefully this is not resonating with you too closely. Hopefully you don't have that sort of person in your business. But if you do, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can feel that gut-wrenching disapproval, disappointment, anger, frustration of having someone in your employ that you're paying good wages to that is probably complaining about their wage, complaining about their hours, complaining about everything, and just won't do as they're told. They want more money, they want more everything, they want more authority, they want more respect, but they don't want to do anything to get it, and they're damn sure not doing what you want them to do. They're not helping your business, they're not moving you forward. And that's exactly what we had. We had this person, and look, there's no pretty way to end this. We terminated that employment pretty quickly. But it was a case where when we looked at our interview process and we looked at problems we had in the past, because if I'm being really honest, this wasn't the first time we had this problem. And if you've got this problem, it's probably not the first time you've had this problem. If it is, then a bit of insight. If you change nothing about the way you hired this person, the next hire is likely going to be the same. Whether we like it or not, no one's going to care about our business as much as we care about our business. No one's going to put the hours in. No one's going to have that passion for growing our business that we have for growing our business. Your team may have that passion that you have, or even more passion or more experience or more skill at growing their client base and helping their clients, but they're not going to have that passion for running your business. No one loves your business as much as you do. So how do we find a team that may not love our business as much as we do, but can help us grow the business, and more importantly, be trusted to do the job they're supposed to be doing, get us to the point where we want to get to without the fight and the continual frustration and struggles just to get someone to do the most basic things the way you want them done. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, you've got to write a manual. It's all the training. That advice flows, doesn't it? You've got to do more manuals. You've got to write SOPs. Have you written it down step for step for them? Have you done a video for them? Have you recorded? Have you made a staff training handbook? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you put them through some training? Have you paid for a course for them? Are they qualified? Oh my God, the list doesn't end. But trust me, I've done all those things. None of them helped. None of them worked. Because at the end of the day, you can train someone's talent. You can train their skill. You can upskill them and improve a skill to the end of the world so they're the best in the world. Ideally, so they're better than you at doing it so you don't have to do it anymore. But what you can't train is culture. What you can't fix is behavior and habits and who the person is at their core. You can't change their core values because that's up to them to change. So what do we do? How do we hire? How do we fix it? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one is culture is everything. Like in a small team, culture means so much. You have to work with your group's what, 2, 3, maybe 5 people, maybe 10, maybe 20 still. It's a small group. Even at 20, it's a small group because you all see each other every day. And if you work in a large corporate office with hundreds of people, you can just go to a different office, different floor, or different routine and miss that person completely. You never see them again. You might have to deal with them every now and then at a meeting or an email, but they really don't create a problem for you. But when you're a small team in a small business, you see that person every day. If you're like I was when I first started out and you only had 2 or 3 staff members, you not only see them every day, but you rely on them to be an absolute key personnel. Because when you're growing your business, every person is a key person because every person does everything. That's just how it is in small business, and you know that. So, well, culture is everything. We have a culture matrix. So when we look at performance of our team, when we look at progress of our team, when we look at fit for our team members, we use a culture matrix. We'll go through that in a second. But if you know the culture of your business, you know the core values of the business, you know what's important to you, then it's really easy to hire and you can hire on those principles. But if you don't know what those are and you don't know where the problems are and you've had a couple of bad hires already, then start by writing down all the stuff, all the shit they did that you didn't like, all the stuff that really frustrated you. And rather than say you want someone who doesn't do these things, look at the reason behind why they were doing those things. Are they the sort of person that didn't listen to instruction? They refused to follow instruction. They were too lazy to review the training manual that you wrote for them. They were too stubborn to watch the training video that you made for them. You sat up all night doing a help video and a help desk for them or a document that helped them map out everything they needed to do, but they were too lazy to read it. So that's laziness. You don't want that. If they are continually just not the sort of person that's reliable that you need, then that's a culture thing. That's a behavioral thing. Write down all those things and you start to build an avatar for the people you don't want. And then you just look at the opposites of what you do want. And that's the easiest way to write down the culture fit conundrum. But getting back to the matrix we talked about. So if you imagine a grid or a graph, so you've got, imagine like that. Yeah, X down the side, Y along the bottom. Your X on your left side. You can either draw this as a graph or you can draw this like 4 boxes, like a box with 2 lines in the middle of it to divide it into 4 boxes or 4 squares. But essentially down your left side is your culture fit. You want to write A culture for awesome at the top and B culture for not awesome at the bottom. And then along the bottom is your skill set. Now we'll put a downloadable or a link in the comments for this one for you, but there's a worksheet. But across the bottom is this skill and you put A on the left and B on the right. And now when you're mapping out your current team, put an X where they are. Are they A, high culture and A, high skill? Or are they A, high culture, but B, not very skilled? Are they B culture, so a poor fit, but really, really skilled, so an A skill? Or are they B, poor culture and B, poor skilled? Now, it's pretty obvious that if they got a poor culture fit and they got no skills, they're not a good person to be part of your team. They're not a good fit for your team. They might be a really good person, but they're just not a good fit for your team. And they're probably best moved either out of that role or completely out of the team, especially if you're a small team. If they are a high culture fit, so they're really good, they're passionate about the way they fit the team really well, and they're awesome at their job, pay them more money. Straight up, pay them more money. They're your shooting star. They're the people you want. If you can have nothing but those people, they're what you call an asset to the company or an asset to your team. If they are someone who's a really good culture fit, but they're just poorly skilled, well, if they're a good culture fit, they're probably a good fit for the team and they're worth the investment of upskilling. Maybe you can upskill them. Maybe they can't be skilled up to the level you want. But either A, you can put the time in and upskill them, or B, maybe they're just not skilled for the role you're trying to put them in. Maybe you've got a different role that you can put them in. Maybe they're skilled at some other area. But if they're a good culture fit, they're probably worth at least the effort to start with. Brings me to the last one, which is my least favorite person, is the poor culture fit with the really high skill set. Now, this is the person that doesn't listen to you but thinks they're awesome. They're the person that is normally the toxic person. They are the person you want to cut out as fast as humanly possible because they don't fit your team, they don't listen to you, but they think they're amazing. They always think they're better than they are and they think they're worth more than they are. These are normally the people that come and ask for pay rises, but they want less hours and they want more responsibility, but they don't do anything the way you want it and they don't do anything you say. They're typically the person you want out as fast as humanly possible. They are your toxic cancer. They are your person you want gone. So if you can, remove that person. If you can't, find a way to move them to a different role or into a less destructive area. But if, depending on which country you're in, read up on if you're a small business and you only got like 3 to 5 people, most countries have a small business clause in their fair trading or their Fair Work Act, which protects small businesses normally quite well. If you're not earning that much revenue and you haven't got that many teams, you're considered a small business. I know in Australia you are. And under the NES, there is a clause there for small businesses that can terminate employees based on poor misconduct or simply because they don't need them or can't afford them. And that does actually protect small businesses in Australia. You'll have to check your legislation, but always read up on Fair Work. And if you're not sure, in most countries there's a governing body you can ring and ask for help there. But if you're going to terminate someone, you want to look up the terms and conditions in your country to make sure that you're sticking to that. The last thing you want is them to turn around and sue you. And if they're a poor culture fit and a high skill, they probably think they're awesome. There's a good chance that's going to bite you on the ass. So make sure you do it right. Do it by the book, and then they've got no comeback and you've got no problems. But so how do you make sure that we don't hire these people in the first place? Well, we used to put ads up on Facebook and in Seek and in all these different employment agencies that were advertising for the skills. We want the person who's coachable. We want the person who's got the high skill set. They've got skills in this. They can do this class, and they've got these skills, and they can do this, and they're good with Excel, and they're good with computers, and they're punctual, and they've got a good community effort, and they've got good culture, and we used to say all the things that everyone else says, all the buzzwords that we thought were important. But if you're applying for a job, well, tell me you haven't applied for a job before and just said the thing you needed to say to get the job. Hell, my first PT job, I had 0 experience and I got a key role by lying my ass off through the interview and saying the things the interviewee wanted to hear. Anyone can do it. Everyone does it. If you want a job, if you need a job, you'll say whatever you have to get that job. And that's, not everyone will do it, but hell, most of us would at least bend the truth a little bit to get the job because we know we're competing against everyone else. We want to be the best person. We want to stand out. So there's a good chance that everyone who's applying for that job wants that job, and they're going to do what they can to stand out. So we found that we had to find ways to phase out or disqualify people earlier on so we weren't actually having to sit through all that. So what we started doing was, and I'll put a copy of our latest job ad in the description as well. I'll put a link to it if I can on the Facebook. Otherwise, we'll put a downloadable copy, and feel free to steal this and use this as you want. But we started advertising for the type of person, the personality of the person we wanted to have as part of our team. We advertised for the cultural stuff. We talked about our community days and what we did there and how we reached out to clients, how we went the extra mile for our clients. We talked about people who want to show up early to help a client, who aren't afraid to stay back and help a client who had questions. People who generally have a passion for growth and not only want to get a job, but find a way to excel in the business, to want to step up and be a bigger part of our business, to be part of our growth, who are looking for places to excel in their career. We talked about all the cultural aspects that were important to us. When we talked about the job role, we talked about the cultural elements of the job role that were super important. Not the skill sets, not the things or qualifications you needed. Basically, in the fitness industry, if you have a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, you're good. So we didn't really need to check a lot of qualifications there. We needed to find the person that matched the role perfectly. And that was the key, to have a really good ad for us that, look, it attracted far less applicants. On the plus side, instead of interviewing 40 people, we on average interview 3 to 4 people. We do that. And then in the next stage, I do a Zoom interview first. It's like, just like you're watching this video right now, Having someone come in, they're going to put on their best, they're going to rehearse their speech, they're going to dress nice. But when you do a Zoom interview, you guys are probably sitting there right now and you're in your underwear, you're in bed, you're at work goofing off, you're in the car, you're in the shopping line, probably on the toilet. You're not at your best right now, but you're on your phone. And so what I found was when I did a Zoom interview, people were disarmed a little bit. They were a bit more comfortable because they're still in their home. They acted more like themselves. A lot of the times people would just hold the phone in their hand, and that was cool because it gave me a really good way to see them as a true person. Were they easily distracted? Did they put a little bit of effort into the Zoom? Did they even brush their hair? And I would just we call it a cultural interview. It's just a conversation. I wanted to know, could this person hold a conversation and not talk about work? Could they get through the entire interview without asking how much will they get paid? And typically, if you asked how much you're getting paid in my culture interviews, you actually don't get hired because that's a disqualification. If it was all about the money, they'll ask that question first, and that's an instant disqualification. For me, it was anyway. For you, it might not be. But we found that worked really well. And then we brought them in. We had a much more structured interview process when we did face-to-face. But that whole process was something that just weeded out all the lazy people and all the people that couldn't be bothered doing all this stuff. We made them send an application where they had to answer an essay question. It wasn't just send a resume and a CV. It was actually answer a question and go to the effort of doing it. We had an application process once they applied through the Facebook. We just had the message through Facebook because that was easy. But then they had to answer questions following that to make sure that they were going to put that effort in that we wanted when they talked to our clients. But if they weren't going to put the effort in to apply for the job, they damn sure weren't going to put the effort in to work with our clients. So that's a really good way to get rid of those people that are just lazy. That helped us a lot. And I guess the other tip that we sort of worked on was that our first job interviews and roles were really just to hire a PT. But I mean, you've probably heard the term brain dump before. And when you did a brain dump, you're talking about delegating and handing off things and handing off that and this. We made sure that our job description that we're advertising for match the role we wanted people to do. So what things, like if you're hiring someone right now, there's a good chance you're trying to get things off your plate or you're trying to fill a specific need. So it might be certain types of clients, it might be certain types of classes, and not just be stuff that you're expanding. You want to take stuff off your plate. Like as an owner, at some point, you've either got to take admin or clients off your plate so you can focus on one or the other. And then as you grow and grow and grow, you take more and more things off your plate so that you can grow and grow and grow and not have to worry about the day-to-day stuff. So depending on what stage you're hiring for, look at the things that you're either trying to specifically have delegated to this new person or specifically take off your plate, and make sure that you're hiring questions specifically ask about those tasks, that you're trying to find a person that specifically has those skill sets, meaning they've got much more chance of stepping in. Like if you're trying to find someone who wants to be an operations manager or someone who's in operations and going to run your whole business, then getting a generic PT who's just done PT on the floor for 10 years probably isn't going to cut it. But getting someone who's previously had operations and management experience who may not have PT experience is probably a better fit for that role because they'll have the skill sets required to do the role. You're not hiring to do PT if you're hiring operations, so you don't really need PT skill sets. Hire the skill sets that you're trying to fill. Hire the role that you're trying to fill. So be specific there. You'll be surprised. You'll get far less candidates, but you're going to get much better candidates, or at least much better suited candidates. Yeah? And lastly, this is the big one. Whenever we're hiring someone, the thing that goes through our head is, do I like this person? What's my gut feeling? And often it's evolved around, if you're a small business, I got to spend every day with this person. I don't want them to be a dick. I don't want them to be someone I don't like. But at the end of the day, you're not hiring a friend. You're not hiring a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You're hiring a person to fill a role. At the end of the day, you want them to do their job and do it really well. So you don't necessarily need to like them. You're not there to be their friend. That's a bonus if you do get along with them well. But just remember, if it doesn't work out and you become friends with them, it's even harder to fire someone when you're friends with them. It's even harder to move them on if you're friends with someone. If you're married and got a partner, could you imagine trying to fire your partner or girlfriend? If you had to break up with someone ever, then you know what that feels like. And if you're friends with your staff members, it's even harder to do so. By all means, you're going to have a really good working relationship. And the better your working relationship is, the better you're going to be able to work with these people. And look, let's be honest, if you've got key personnel, you'll probably develop a really solid, close relationship with those people because you're going to be working with them to grow your business. But the initial stages, you're not hiring a friend. You're not there to be their mate. You're not there to be everything. You're not there to say yes. They're supposed to say yes to you. That's the job. That's the role. They need to do the things they're told to do. So don't hire a friend. Don't hire someone you like. Because if you hire the person you like over the person that's a better suit for the role, then there's a good chance the person you're hiring is less suited for the role and maybe less successful. Look, it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't always fail, but it's not a high probability that you're going to have a huge amount of success hiring someone you like over someone that was better suited for the role. At the end of the day, if you get 10 applicants and you interview all 10 applicants and none of them are a good culture fit and none of them have the specific skill sets that you need for your role, well, just remember back to that culture grid. If they don't have the culture and they don't have the skills, they're a BB. They're a low culture, low skill set. And while they may be able to be trained up, chances are, if you're trying to hire as a small business, you don't have 12 months to train someone up to do their role. You need someone at least has those basic skill sets. So don't be afraid to say no to all hires and just keep looking. I can't tell you the amount of times it's gone wrong when we've gone on, well, I've had a PT resign or be terminated or move on for whatever reason. I had a lady who was working for a long time, had children, went and had children. And it was a sad loss for us because she was an amazing trainer, but that was the next part of her life. And we knew that she wasn't going to be back for at least 2 years, if at all. And for us, it was sudden because we hadn't known. She sort of told us last minute, but we had to hire someone really, really quickly. And we did. And as you're probably guessing, it didn't turn out so well because that person was hired at a rush. They weren't particularly uniquely skilled for the skill sets that they were filling in for. Obviously, we had a trainer that was very well embedded with her clients, and the new trainer just wasn't the same. They didn't match that trainer, so they didn't match her clients. And so all those clients ended up being lost anyway, and now we were stuck with this trainer that had no clients and was a poor fit. Poor culture fit, low skilled, and just didn't fit the role. And so that was just another problem we had to solve. And as business owners, we don't need any more problems, especially the ones that we put on our own plate. So there's a lot to hiring a good staff member, and there's a lot to getting the right people for the right fit. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, you're not going to get this right every time. Just remember that you have a probation period for a reason. Don't pass someone on their probation at the end of the 3 months or whatever you do just because you feel guilty about getting rid of them or saying no to the continuation of the role. If they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit. So guys, hire specifically for the role. If you want, we'll put the copy to our latest ad that we use. Now, bear in mind that we do change the wording in this to suit specific roles that we're hiring for, but the general layout and the general tone of it is exactly what we use every day or whenever we do applications. Feel free to steal that, change it, do what you want with it. It's yours to use. Hopefully it helps you. Make sure you're specific about the role though. Don't hire someone that you like over someone that's best suited for the role, and don't hire a mate. That's not how he works. You're not hiring a friendship group here. You're hiring someone to do a specific job, and you're going to pay them good money. So you want to make sure you're getting good value out of that. And guys, above all else, culture is everything. If they're a poor culture fit, then they'll never be a good culture fit. But if they're a great culture fit and they might be a little less skilled than you need, as long as they've got that basic level where they can do the job to an acceptable level for your clients, then that can be trained up. You can always train skill, but you can't train culture. Guys, hopefully that helps you with our podcast. Like, if you've got any questions about hiring or things like that, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm always happy to bounce ideas around or help you out. If you want to tee up a time to chat or things like that, you can always shoot me a message through the group there, or just pop a comment below, and maybe someone in the group has got a similar experience. They can help you out as well. If you haven't done it yet, jump on the Facebook group. That's where we put all of our podcasts. That's where we put all of our extras and goodies. That's where all the help is there. You can always check any area. There's lots of areas in that Facebook group. There's lots of videos, lots of content. Make sure you check it all out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching in. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ben from Simplified Fitness Business. If you've got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next episode.